Heartwarming appeal. Millionaire discovers little girl's life-changing plea after 3 days of silence. In a forgotten suburban neighborhood, 10-year-old Emily sat at her kitchen table, the flickering light above illuminating her determined face. With her heart racing, she poured every ounce of desperation and hope into a letter addressed not just to her classmates, but to the wider world. "Help us," she wrote, "not just for me, but for our community." Her voice, laced with sorrow and courage, spilled onto the page as she detailed her struggles, the days her mother spent searching for work and the fear etched on her father's face since losing his job. This letter, this heart-wrenching plea, was her last resort. 3 days passed in anxious silence. Emily felt the weight of hopelessness grow heavier with each glance at the mountains of unpaid bills sprawled across the table. Her mother's smile dimmed under the exhaustion of making ends meet, but Emily held on to hope like a flickering candle. That was until, in a lavish mansion across town, Jack, an elusive millionaire hiding from the world, opened his mail. Among the mundane letters, Emily's stood out like a beacon of light amid darkness. The words leaped off the page, each line igniting memories of dreams he once had, dreams buried under the weight of affluence. Jack's chest tightened. This brave little girl reminded him of the spark he had lost along his journey to success. He realized then he had built walls around himself, forgetting the joy of connection and community. Emily's plea stirred something deep within him, a desire to help, to reach out, to make a difference. But what could he do? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. Driven by courage he hadn't felt in years, Jack envisioned a community fundraising event. Excitement bubbled within him as he plotted to bring together people from every corner of the neighborhood. But as whispers of his plans spread, skepticism shadowed him. Hushed voices questioned his intentions. What does he know about our lives? He's never faced our struggles. The upcoming event drew naysayers, and Emily's family found themselves thrust into a spotlight they never wanted, becoming symbols of the community's disdain towards the wealthy outsider trying to help. With each passing day, the pressure mounted. Jack felt exposed, vulnerable. He yearned for the townsfolk to see him as more than a privileged stranger. As the event drew closer, a knot tightened in his stomach. Could he break through their preconceptions? Was Emily's family ready for what lay ahead? Their hopes rested on him, but underneath the weight of judgment, he felt an unlikely kinship with Emily, both yearning for acceptance, for connection. On the day of the event, a buzz crackled in the air. Would they accept him, or would this be the culmination of failure? Jack stood by the podium, heart pounding, eyes searching for Emily in the crowd. Just as he opened his mouth to speak, silence blanketed the audience, anticipation hanging heavy. And that's when everything changed. Jack's voice caught in his throat. The crowd's expectant stares bore down on him like a spotlight. It felt as if every moment hung in the balance. He cleared his throat, summoning all the courage he could muster. "Thank you all for being here today," he began, his words trembling but earnest. He glanced over at Emily, standing amidst her family, her eyes wide with hope and fear. She had believed in him, and he couldn't let her down. "I'm not here to just make speeches or throw money at problems. I want to listen, to learn, and to understand what you need." There was a murmur in the crowd, some faces softened while others remained skeptical. Jack pressed on, weaving in the story of Emily's letter. He recounted the raw emotion it had stirred in him, outlining how he once chased dreams filled with community. "I lost my way, but I've realized that true wealth lies in giving back, in being part of something bigger." He tried to connect with the audience, hoping they could see the sincerity radiating from him. "But I can't do this alone," he continued, as he felt his heart race again. "We can build something beautiful together. Today is just the beginning of bringing our community back to life." He paused. In that moment, he looked into the faces of the townsfolk, searching for signs of acceptance. Just then, a voice piped up from the back. How do we know you're not just here to take a photo op? What isn't this for you? The question sliced through the tension, and a ripple of agreement flowed through the crowd. Jack gulped, feeling the weight of their doubt bearing down on him. I understand why you're hesitant, he said, holding his hands up, palms open. Believe me, I've been that person, afraid of letting others in. This isn't for me. It's for all of us. With each word, he tried to peel away the walls that had grown between him and the people surrounding him. Yet, whispers of skepticism continued to echo, and Jack felt a cold sweat on his brow. Suddenly, from the front of the crowd, Emily stepped forward, her small hand raised. Can I say something? She asked, her small voice cutting through the noise. The crowd quieted, shock written across many faces. Jack's heart leaped. This was her moment. Emily's gaze shifted from Jack to her neighbors, her voice steady despite the tremor in her hands. My family has struggled so much, she began, drawing them all in with her honesty. But we've always believed that if we work together, things can get better. Mr. Jack cares, and I know it's hard to trust. Her voice cracked, but she pushed through. But if we don't at least try, we'll never know. Tears welled in Jack's eyes as he watched Emily's courage shine. A wave of emotion broke over him. He saw echoes of hope in her words. The crowd shifted. Eyes softened. People began to murmur, voices rising in unity. It might have been small, but Jack sensed a shift in their hearts. Suddenly, laughter erupted from a few familiar faces, breaking the ice. Jack felt lighter. But just as hope flickered like a candle in the wind, a loud crash startled everyone. A group of teenagers, visibly agitated, burst through the crowd. This is a joke. You think you can just fix everything with a parade and some donations? One of them shouted, creating ripples of tension once again. Jack's heart sank. Could this day, full of potential, unravel so easily? What would Emily think? He glanced at her, her eyes wide with worry yet still shining bright. He took a deep breath, ready to stand strong. It was time to confront the storm brewing around him. Jack felt the adrenaline coursing through his veins. The teenager's hostility was palpable, and he could sense the crowd shift back toward doubt. He moved closer, determined to bridge the divide. Listen, he said, his voice firm but calm, I get it. You're scared. We've all been scared. But fear can't be the reason we give up. It drives us apart. The teenager who had spoken, a boy with messy hair and a piercing gaze, squared his shoulders defiantly. You talk a big game, man. But how do we know you'll stick around? Everyone in this town has been let down before. Jack met his gaze and felt that familiar burn of disappointment in his chest. He remembered moments from his own past when he had faced deep disappointment. You're right, he said, lowering his voice to a more personal tone. I haven't been here before. But I want to be here now. I can't rewrite the past, none of us can, but we can shape the future, together. Emily stepped alongside him, her small frame a stark contrast to the tension in the air. If we just sit and wait for things to change, they never will, she chimed in, her voice strong despite her stature. Please give him a chance. We all deserve a chance. The boy frowned but seemed to hesitate, caught off guard by her sincerity. Jack sensed a glimmer of hope. You feel abandoned. I see that, Jack said, addressing the crowd again, but trust doesn't come easy. It's built day by day. Everyone here deserves that chance, not just me, but all of you too. Let us start that building process right now. An older woman in the back spoke up, her voice shaky yet filled with conviction. How do we know you won't just walk away when the cameras have stopped rolling? She looked skeptical, but Jack detected concern beneath her anger. Jack took a moment, searching for the right words. You have every right to ask that, and I won't pretend I have all the answers. But I promise to listen. I want to do more than just bring funds. I want to bring connections back to this community. I want to hear your stories, your needs. A ripple of murmur spread through the crowd. It felt like a small crack in the wall that had divided them from him. He needed to seize this moment. Let us create a space where your voices matter. Let us start something simple, maybe a town hall where we can brainstorm ideas, invite everyone to share what they envision for our community. No strings attached, just a chance for everyone to be heard. The boy's stance relaxed just a touch, glancing toward his friends, who exchanged uncertain looks. Jack took a deep breath, leaning into the moment. This isn't about me. It's about us. If you give me your trust, I'll prove it's well placed, one step at a time. Emily's eyes sparkled as she looked from one adult to the next. Together! She shouted, an infectious excitement radiating from her. A fresh wave of chatter emerged, this time tinged with curiosity and hope. Jack felt a swell of gratitude for Emily's bravery. She had rallied them without even realizing it. Yet there remained a flicker of doubt in the air. Jack could almost taste that there was work still to be done. Suddenly, the teenager in the front shouted, "Okay, we'll give you a chance. But you better not disappear the moment this is over." He crossed his arms, a mix of challenge and cautious hope. "Deal," Jack replied, a smile slowly breaking across his face. The sun peeked through the clouds, and a warmer breeze washed over them. Jack could sense the turning tide, but the lingering skepticism remained. He knew that the real work was only just beginning. As the crowd began to disperse, he felt both a thrill of possibility and the weight of responsibility settle on his shoulders. He caught Emily's eye, and the look she gave him was both encouraging and heavy with unspoken words. Jack realized that while he had taken a big first step, the next would require even more courage. He could hear whispers of their cautious optimism surrounding him, and as he stood there, he knew he needed to prove himself. But how? Part of him felt ready to take a leap, but another whispered doubts that, profoundly tempted to hold him back. Jack glanced toward the horizon and wondered what retrieval of trust might really cost him. Jack stood there, the warmth of the sun washing over him while the lingering doubt gnawed at his resolve. He could still hear the rumble of voices, a mix of optimism and skepticism, blending into a dull roar. The boy's challenge echoed in his mind. "You better not disappear the moment this is over." He turned away from the gathering, seeking a quiet corner beneath a large oak tree, its aged branches cradling him in shade. Jack leaned against the rough bark and closed his eyes for a moment, letting the sounds of the crowd fade into a distant murmur. Could he really stay? Was he prepared to invest his heart into a community that had been hurt before? He couldn't shake off the deeper thought. Trust was fragile, and he would have to earn it. As he pondered this, he felt a small tug at his shirt. Jack opened his eyes to find Emily standing there, her big brown eyes filled with intensity. "Are you okay?" she asked, concern written across her young face. "Yeah, just thinking," Jack replied, ruffling her hair softly. It was his instinct to reassure her, but they both knew the stakes were high. "I really think we can make a difference," she said, leaning in closer. "But you need to promise you won't let them down. I've seen it too many times." Her words struck deep within him, stirring both guilt and determination. Jack nodded slowly, taking a moment before responding. "I know I have to prove myself, Emily. But how do I do that when I feel like I'm still learning about this town?" "Just be yourself," she said, as if it were the simplest thing in the world. "Listen to their stories. Figure out what they need. Help them. Then they'll see just like I did." Her wisdom stunned him. How could a child possess such insight? Maybe he needed to stop overthinking and start acting. "Okay, let us do it," he said with newfound vigor, springing into action. "What's our first step?" Emily clapped her hands together, excitement bubbling in her. "We should plan that town hall. We can make posters and invite the kids too. They'll have good ideas. Oh, and I can bake cookies to bring." Jack chuckled, the hopefulness of her spirit infectious. "Cookies? Now you're talking. But let us not stop there. We'll take flyers door to door. Everyone should feel included." "Yes. I love it!" she exclaimed, bouncing on her toes. As they spoke, Jack felt the stirrings of real connection. They spent the next hour brainstorming ideas, loose sheets flying around them, filled with drawings and plans. With each scribble, Jack's fears started to fade like the last tendrils of night. After wrapping up what they could, they exited the shade of the tree and rejoined the small crowd still milling about. Jack stood a little taller, purpose gathering within him. "Hey! Everyone!" he called, catching their attention once more. "We're going to set up that town hall meeting. We want all your ideas and input. Let us figure out together how to make this place better." Faces turned toward him, some still with doubt, but others with curiosity and intrigue. The doubt was fading. Then the teenager with the messy hair stepped forward again, a thought flashing across his expression. "Can we help too?" he asked, his expression cautious but receptive. "Yes," Jack said, heart racing with excitement. "Anyone who wants to be involved should join us. Let us build this together." The spark of opportunity felt electric. Suddenly, the room shifted slightly. Something had changed. Jack couldn't quite define it, but he sensed a shift toward unity, a collective breath waiting to be exhaled. Yet, even amidst this wave of hope, a voice in the back of his mind whispered, "What if you fail? What if they get hurt again?" As they began to gather faces and names, Jack inhaled deeply. He needed to confront the voice of doubt within. His journey had just begun, and he was ready. He wouldn't just fight for their trust, he would fight for his own belief too. But just as he committed to the task ahead, he noticed a figure lingering at the edge of the crowd, an older man blocking the light with his dark silhouette. Jack's pulse quickened as he recognized the familiar frown. The man had been among those who had watched the rally with skepticism. Jack's gut tightened. Who was this man? What role would he play in the journey that lay ahead? Jack steeled himself as the man stepped forward, breaking through the crowd's murmur. He moved with a purpose, his eyes piercing yet tired. There was a history behind that frown, a story waiting to unfold. "Can I have a word?" the man asked, his voice low but firm. His gaze locked onto Jack, as if he had already assessed him and found him wanting. Jack nodded, knowing this conversation was important. "Sure, let us talk." He led the man a few steps away from the group, sensing the curious eyes shifting to their back. "I'm Henry," the man said, crossing his arms. "You're new here?" "Yeah, I just moved in a few weeks ago," Jack replied, trying to keep his tone friendly despite the tension that hung heavy in the air. "I've seen people like you before," Henry continued, his voice growing steadier. "Well-meaning souls who come in with bright ideas, trying to change everything. But I've also seen how that ends, and it's rarely pretty." Jack swallowed hard. "I know trust takes time, and I don't expect everything to change overnight. I just want to help." Henry's eyes softened for a brief moment, then returned to their steely demeanor. "You think you can fix things here? You don't know what we've been through. You'll be met with resistance, and not just from the crowd. Trust isn't given, it's earned." "How can you do that?" Jack felt his pulse racing. "By listening, by engaging with everyone. I have to understand their stories, their struggles, to make a meaningful impact. And what if that doesn't work? What if the moment you stumble, you'll find the very community you thought you were helping turns against you?" The man's skepticism stabbed at Jack's heart. What could he say to ease those fears, the fears that were festering deep within him as well? "I can't promise I won't stumble," Jack finally said, looking straight into Henry's eyes. "But I can promise I won't run away when the going gets tough. I'll stick around, even when it's hard." Henry studied him for a long moment before taking a step back. "You talk a good talk, but that's what they all do. You're standing at a crossroads, and I want you to know there are consequences. If you fail, it won't just be on you. It'll ripple through this community. You might not get a second chance." "Then let me prove myself," Jack pleaded, feeling his chest tighten with both desperation and determination. "Let me show everyone I'm here for them." Henry hesitated, his expression softening slightly while still holding that air of caution. "You have a long way to go, Jack. Better be ready for whatever comes next." He turned and walked away, leaving Jack feeling raw and exposed, a mix of fear and resolve swirling within him. As he returned to the group, Emily looked up at him, her innocent face a beacon of hope. "What happened? Did he say yes?" "He challenged me," Jack said, shaking his head slightly. But in a way, that's good. I need to rise to the challenge. She nodded, determination flashing in her eyes. Then let us get started. More people need to know about our meeting. We can't waste time. Their spirits were unbreakable, and Jack couldn't help but smile. Maybe he wasn't alone in this after all. Even if Henry's warning loomed over him like a cloud, he had a chance to begin. Just as they were about to take action, a commotion broke out across the park, drawing everyone's attention. A couple of kids were arguing loudly over a soccer ball, and amid the chaos, Jack noticed something glinting near the fountain. It was a small, shiny object. Before he could react, he saw a little girl bend down to pick it up. Her face was filled with wonder, but there was something about the way she held it that made his heart race again. What was she holding? And why did it feel like this moment would mean more than just a lost trinket? Jack took a step closer, his heart pounding as he watched the little girl clutch the object, a glimmering pendant that caught the sunlight. Her wide eyes sparkled with curiosity, but there was a seriousness beneath her youthful wonder, as if she felt the weight of its significance. Jack felt an urge to understand. The crowd around the fountain hushed, drawn in by the glow of the pendant and the little girl's excitement. "What is it?" someone whispered. "Where did it come from?" Jack pushed through the crowd, intrigued. "What did you find, sweetie?" he asked gently, kneeling to meet her gaze. "It's pretty!" she exclaimed, holding it up. "Look! Can I keep it?" Seeing her joy, Jack smiled. "Of course! But where did you find it?" She pointed just beyond the fountain. "It was lying on the ground. I didn't think anyone would want it, but it's shiny, and it feels special." Jack took a moment to observe the object. It was a small silver heart, delicate and unblemished, etched with tiny inscriptions that hinted at a story. Something felt deeply familiar about it, a sense of longing he couldn't shake. Amid the unfolding drama, he felt a tug at his heart. Memories of his own childhood, of simple joys and forgotten treasures, flooded back. "Do you know what it means?" he asked the girl. She shook her head. "No. But it makes me feel happy. Do you think it could help anyone?" Despite Henry's warnings echoing in his mind, Jack sensed this moment held potential. Maybe it was more than just a trinket, maybe it was a key to bridge the gaps between himself and the community he was trying to help. He stood up, surveying the curious faces around him. "We should find out, don't you think?" he said, trying to rally the crowd's attention. "Maybe this pendant has a story to tell, somebody might need it today more than we know." "Yeah," came a voice from the back. "What if it belonged to someone who lost it? We should try to return it." That idea sparked excitement among the group. Jack felt a surge of hope. Together they could turn a lost object into an opportunity to form connections, to rebuild trust. Suddenly, a familiar figure emerged from the background. It was Henry. He was watching closely, his expression still cautious, but something flickered in his eyes. "Curiosity? Interest? Counting your blessings, I see," Henry remarked, crossing his arms. Jack met his gaze with renewed determination. "We could turn this into something good. This isn't just about helping, it's about coming together as a community." Henry frowned slightly. "Just know that people may not welcome your enthusiasm. The heart has many owners, and not all are kind." Jack nodded, remembering how Henry had warned him earlier. But right now, it didn't matter. It was time to act. "What do you say, everyone?" he asked, projecting his voice. "Let us find the owner of this pendant, and in the process, let us get to know each other better." The children cheered, and adults began murmuring agreement. Jack felt a rush of energy course through him, igniting a spark of community awareness. This small action ignited hope, an ember that could grow into something meaningful. "Can we start at the playground? Maybe someone there knows it?" asked Emily eagerly, looking up at Jack. "Absolutely. Let us head over there." As they set off, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that this was more than a search for a pendant. It was a search for connection. He glanced back at Henry, who seemed to follow them. Would the man join them, or remain at a distance with his doubts? Jack's resolve strengthened. What was the history behind that pendant? And would it lead him to the heart of this community, or deepen the fractures? The playground was alive with laughter and the shouts of children running about, their joyful energy fluttering through the air. Jack entered the space, feeling a rush of hope mixed with anticipation. The sight of kids playing reminded him of simpler times, times when all that mattered were friendships and shared laughs. As they approached the swings, Jack noticed a group of children clustered around a tree, their eyes wide as they pointed at something hidden in the grass. His heart raced. Could it be someone looking for the pendant? Let us check it out, he urged the group, leading them over to the tree. Hey, what is happening? Jack called out as he approached the group, moving aside to get a better look. He found a boy, no older than 8, kneeling with an expression of both wonder and concern. I think I found something, he said, his voice trembling. What is it? Emily asked, peering over his shoulder. Jack knelt down, curiosity bubbling within him. The boy carefully lifted his hands, revealing a crumpled piece of paper. The edges were tattered, and it looked well loved. Jack took a closer look, and the words began to materialize before him, a heartfelt drawing of a heart. The doodles surrounded it told a story of love and loss, a child's interpretation of a bond, perhaps. What is that, buddy? Jack asked gently. The boy shrugged. I found it next to the sandbox. It looks sad. I think it's important. Maybe it belongs to someone. Jack felt a warmth spread through him. Here was another lost item, another piece of a puzzle that could connect them to someone in their community. You're right. It could be a clue, he replied, encouraging the boy. Let us hang on to it. As Jack stood, he turned to the crowd. Okay, everyone. We have 2 mysteries to solve, the pendant and this drawing. Who knows someone who might be connected to these? The children buzzed with excitement, their eyes lighting up. A few older kids even joined them, intrigued by the idea of a treasure hunt. Parents nearby began to smile, captivated by the energy building among their kids. It felt like magic in the air. But just then, Jack noticed Henry standing a few feet away, arms crossed, still watching. There was apprehension in his gaze, a flicker of resistance. Jack felt a pang of doubt. Was the excitement enough to overcome the skepticism that lingered like an unshifted shadow? Henry! Jack called out, inviting him in. What do you think? Could these items belong to someone from the neighborhood? Henry hesitated for a moment before walking closer. It's possible, he replied, his voice measured. But be careful with people's feelings, Jack. Not everyone will want to revisit the past. I know, Jack answered, a smile breaking his worried expression. But that's part of what makes this important. If we can bring joy to someone's heart, maybe we can help our community heal. Henry seemed to weigh Jack's words. There was an almost imperceptible shift in his stance. Jack hoped this would open a door, even just a crack. Okay, Henry finally said, I'll help. Let us see what we can discover. Cheers erupted from the crowd. Each child felt empowered, a collective purpose binding them together. Amidst the excitement, Jack glanced down at the pendant, now safely in the little girl's hands. What stories would unfold as they continued their search? The playground echoed with laughter, but he couldn't shake the feeling that just beneath that joy lay threads of deeper stories, stories yet waiting to be unraveled. Where would this unexpected journey take them? And who would they encounter along the way? The laughter of children filled the air as they began to form little groups, buzzing with ideas on how to solve the mysteries before them. Jack felt a surge of enthusiasm. It was contagious. He glanced at Henry, who now stood with his arms relaxed, a reluctant smile appearing on his face. Maybe this was more than just a game, it felt like a mission to him too. Okay, everyone. Jack raised his voice to capture their attention. Let us split up and see who can find more clues. Remember, if you come across someone who looks like they might know about the pendant or the drawing, don't hesitate to ask. Let us go, let us go. The crowd cheered as they scattered in different directions. Laughter and shouts filled the playground again, a joyful cacophony that filled Jack's heart. As Emily and Jack wandered towards the picnic area, he couldn't help but wonder how far the threads of love and loss connected people in their community. The park seemed alive, brimming with stories just waiting to be told. Jack, Emily said, tugging on his shirt, what if we find the person who lost these things? What will we say? Jack smiled down at her, appreciating her enthusiasm. We tell them they aren't forgotten. That they're still loved. A contemplative expression crossed Emily's face. Do you think it will make them happy? Absolutely. Just knowing someone cares can change everything, Jack replied, caught in the hopeful gaze of her bright eyes. Their footsteps marched toward the edge of the playground, where a narrow path led to a small park bench tucked beneath the branches of an old oak tree. They approached gingerly. Sitting there was an elderly woman, her stark white hair contrasting against the warmth of the sun. Jack recognized her, the neighborhood's gentle soul who always had a smile and a kind word to share. Hi, Mrs. Edwards, Jack called out as they neared. Can we talk to you for a moment? Oh, hello, Jack. And Emily. Her face lit up, wrinkles dancing at the corners of her mouth. How lovely to see you both. Jack hesitated, then shared the story of the pendant and the drawing. As he spoke, he noticed Mrs. Edwards' eyes growing misty, shifting from joy to reflection. Those are powerful treasures, dear, she said softly. The drawing reminds me of my late husband. He used to doodle hearts like that, to make me smile during tough days. Her voice wavered just slightly, revealing a deep well of emotion beneath her practiced calm. Do you think it could belong to you? Jack asked gently. Mrs. Edwards shook her head. No, my heart is healed now. But perhaps it's a reminder of love that still surrounds us. It's beautiful to know that you kids are looking for answers. You see, memories good and bad, they connect us. Jack could feel the air thicken with unspoken words, and he looked to Emily, who blinked back tears, feeling the weight of the moment. Can we keep looking, Mrs. Edwards? She asked, her voice small but earnest. Maybe we can find the person who really needs it. Of course, my dear, the woman responded, her eyes softening. You're doing something very special. Just remember, every connection you make matters. As they turned to leave, Jack felt buoyed by her words, but a looming sense of urgency pulled at him. He glanced at Emily, who nodded, her determination soaring higher. With a fresh wave of excitement, they rejoined the other children, sharing their newfound perspective. Little did they know, their search was about to lead them to the unexpected, a chance encounter that could transform their mission into something greater than they ever imagined. What other secrets lay hidden in this community? And how would these discoveries weave into the tapestry of shared love and loss they were beginning to unravel? Energy filled the air as Jack and Emily rejoined their friends. Their hearts raced with anticipation, ready to dive deeper into the search for clues. Teams formed quickly, laughter ringing out as children brainstormed ideas. Jack felt renewed strength. They weren't just searching for a pendant, they were uncovering stories that mattered. Let us check the fountain, Henry suggested, leading a small group. Jack and Emily veered toward the playground equipment, where giggles echoed off the metal slides. As they passed clusters of kids, he could hear snippets of excitement about possible leads. Do you remember how Mrs. Edwards said memories connect us? Emily asked, twirling a strand of her hair, her earnestness shining through. What if we found someone who needed us to help them remember? Jack nodded, his heart racing at the thought. That possibility danced in the air like sunlight filtering through the leaves. Let us keep asking questions. The more we look, the more stories we'll uncover. They approached a nearby group of children, who were intensely peering over something on the grass. What is happening over here? Jack asked, moving closer. Look! A boy exclaimed, revealing an old photo of what appeared to be a man and a young girl holding hands. I found this by the swing set. It's kind of weird, right? Emily leaned in closer, her eyes brightening. What if they used to come here together? Maybe they lost something that means a lot to them. Exactly! Jack exclaimed, the idea sparking a thrill in him. Let us find out who they are. As they brainstormed possibilities, a woman approached, her brow furrowed with curiosity. She was in her 30s, her expression tight yet hopeful. "Excuse me, what's all this about?" she asked, glancing between the children and the photo. Jack bit his lip, unsure if they should share. But something inside him urged to take that leap of faith. "We found this photo," he said, showing it to her. "It looks like a father and daughter. We think they might have lost something important." The woman's eyes widened, and a flicker of recognition passed over her face. "I know this man," she whispered, her voice trembling. "That's my brother and his daughter, Lily. I haven't seen them in years." Jack felt a rush of emotion. The photo suddenly became so much more than an image. It was a bridge to a lost connection. "Do you think we could help you find them?" Emily asked, her innocence piercing through the tension, her voice steady. "Yes, I mean, if it doesn't bring up too much," she hesitated, glancing down at the dirt. "They left town after some terrible things happened. It's just been hard. We used to come here every summer." Jack could feel Emily's hands snake into his, their palms clammy but purposeful. "It's okay," he reassured her softly. "Maybe this is a sign. We can help." The woman looked back at them, her eyes glistening with a mix of hope and fear. "If you think you can," she trailed off, her voice a whisper. The last place they lived was by the old bakery on Main Street. Henry rushed over, crunching grass beneath his shoes, eager to know what was happening. Jack could see the determination growing within their group, a rare mix of emotion transforming into purpose. "We can go there next," Henry shouted. "Let us find them before the day ends." As momentum gathered, Jack couldn't shake the feeling that they were on the cusp of something life-changing, not just for the woman, but for everyone involved. The threads of memory and connection grew tighter, intertwining them all, pushing them towards a greater journey. But just as they turned to organize their next steps, a sharp voice cut through the air. "What are you brats doing?" A boy emerged from the shadows, crossing his arms as he eyed their gathering. Jack's stomach nodded. This was not just a simple game anymore. There was something more at stake now, and he sensed that challenges lay ahead. Would they find Lily? And could they face the obstacles that were clearly waiting to confront them? The tension in the air crackled like electricity as the boy stepped forward, his sneer cutting through the hopeful atmosphere. The kids fell silent, eyes darting between Jack and the newcomer. "What do you want?" Jack asked, trying to keep his voice steady. "Just making sure you all aren't wasting your time," the boy scoffed. "Why would anyone care about this dumb old photo? It's just a piece of paper." Jack felt anger bubbling within him, but he knew he had to choose his words carefully. "This isn't just a piece of paper. It's a memory. It connects people. You don't get it." The boy shrugged, his expression unimpressed. "What if they don't want to be found? You can't just play hero." With a nod, Jack turned back to the group, looking to Emily and the other kids for support. "What if we could help? What if we could bring some happiness back to a family?" He gestured to the woman who was still standing, her eyes shimmering. "This is what community is about. Helping each other." "I'd like to reconnect with them," she said softly, her voice cracking. Maybe I can finally say I'm sorry." The other kids started to rally, murmurs of encouragement spreading from one face to another. "Yeah! Let us help her!" shouted Emily, her enthusiasm a beacon in the growing uncertainty. Jack glanced at the skeptic. "You're missing out if you can't see how this matters," he said gently. "You could join us too." For a moment, the boy stood there, uncertainty flickering in his eyes. But the spark of laughter from the children around him began to chip at his tough exterior. "Whatever," he huffed, shrugging it off, but Jack could see the edges had softened, just ever slightly. With renewed energy, they organized into small groups, each carrying fragments of hope, a photo, a pendant, a dream of connection. The excitement spread like wildfire as they ventured toward the old bakery on Main Street, the path filled with laughter and the promise of bridging lost ties. As they reached the bakery's weather doors, the group hesitated, a nervous flutter settling in their stomachs. Jack looked around, noticing the mix of faces reflecting a spectrum of determination and hesitance. "Let us not wait. We owe it to them." Jack trusted his gut, pushing the door open with purpose. The bell chimed softly above them, announcing their entry into a world steeped in nostalgia and the scent of fresh pastries. The interior was dim but warm, filled with remnants of memories, the shelves stacked high with baking pans and the enticing aroma of cinnamon that wafted over them like a gentle embrace. Behind the counter stood an older man, his face worn but kind. "Can I help you?" he asked, his brow furrowing with curiosity. Jack stepped forward, holding the photo close. "We're looking for this family. We think they used to come here and we might know where they are." The man studied the image, surprise dawning on his face. "That's Derek and Lily. They used to come here every Friday for cookies, dancing around with laughter. They moved a while ago. Tough times it was." Jack felt the determination swell within him, pondering the lost joys entwined in those memories. "Do you have a way to contact them? Perhaps we could bring them back together." The baker sighed, his gaze flickering to the floor heavily steeped in silence. "I do, but it's been hard for them. They might not be open to reaching back out." "Then let us show them they're loved," Emily chimed in, her voice pure and earnest. "Maybe they're scared. But if we try, maybe healing can start again." The man paused, his heart visibly shifting. "Your kids, yes, I believe in the power of youth. Let me see what I can do." He headed into the back, and moments stretched like elastic, anticipation creeping in. Jack's heart raced, glancing over at the group surrounding him. "Whatever happens, this journey is about love," he whispered, catching Emily's hopeful gaze. "True. It's the bond that brings us together." The baker soon returned with a slip of paper in hand, a fading glimmer of connection. "This is the last address I have for them." They gathered around the group, excitedly exchanging hopeful looks. "Let us go find them," Jack exclaimed, feeling an electric sense of urgency surge within the crowd. With the slip of paper in hand, they surged back into the sunlight, a collective heartbeat fueling their journey. This was about reconnection, confronting fear, and embracing the light of possibility. As they filed onto the street, Jack cast a glance back at Henry. To his surprise, the skeptical boy had drifted closer, lingering just behind them with an uncertain smile. "Thanks for not giving up," he said quietly, his tone softer now. "Maybe it could matter after all." Jack beamed, recognizing the start of a shift. "It already does." The group buzzed with laughter and excitement, forming a chain of community, replenished with heart and faith. Each step encapsulated the magic of connection, the stories unfolding like petals with the promise of new blooms. They were searching for a family, yes, but they were also discovering themselves, who they could be together. In that determination, hope flourished and trust began to weave its way back into their community. Jack's heart swelled, knowing they were on the threshold of something beautiful. Today could be the start of healing, a chance to turn the wounds of the past into a tapestry of bright tomorrows. As they made their way down the street, a realization sparked, rooting itself within him. This moment, the journey, the laughter, the connections made, this was only the beginning. Their mission was just about finding a pendant or a drawing. They were on a quest for understanding, love, and connection, one step closer to the heart of what it truly meant to be a community. "Let us do this." Jack's voice rang out, unwavering and fierce, igniting the path ahead. "Together." Emily cheered back, the spirit of a brand new journey glowing in her eyes. And as they marched onward, they carried the essence of hope with them, a legacy of change they were ready to contribute, hands and hearts intertwined, bridging every gap that may have once divided them. This was where their story unfolded, this was where the healing began. So are you ready to let your heart bloom? Join Jack, Emily, and their friends on this incredible journey we call life. If you believe in the power of connection, don't wait another second. Subscribe immediately to the channel to not miss the next exclusive stories. Leave a like now to feed the algorithm and help us grow. Comment your reactions and feelings about the ending, we want to hear from you. And share instantly this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this transformation. You need to support us, and this is the moment. Don't hold back.